Now we are switching from Offenbach to Lyon. Again, unfortunately, only in a digital way. We imagine arriving at the Museum for Printing History in Lyon. We would meet its director, Joseph Belletante, also a member of the APM board. And this institution, with its long-lasting history and treasures, is one of the finest addresses in Europe to teach the profile of printing over the centuries. But in particular, Joseph Belletante concentrates on contemporary art, especially graphics. One of his favorite chapters in this context is written by a group of artists who calls themselves Grapus. Like a hurricane, they blew into the settled world of graphic design in the 70s and spared no effort to come up with some graphical surprises. In connection of an exhibition, the Klingspor Museum just had some exchange with one of the artists, Gérard Paris-Clavel. So we are certainly pleased to have the opportunity to listen to Joseph Belletante's talk, which deals with special aspects of the relationship between modern graphics and politics. Joseph Belletante will give us the opportunity to answer some questions after his talk. The ones who have joined already in the morning know how this could work. So please write your comments and questions in the chat or use the Q&A function. So I would like to hand over to Dr. Joseph Belletante. Welcome to the APM conference.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I hope you can see me and hear me. It's okay for everyone? Tell me if it's not the case. So first, I would like to thank, of course, the Offenbach team for this superb organization. And also, of course, also thanks Stefan for the kind invitation. This afternoon, I will talk about the Printing Museum in Lyon and about two exhibition projects in particular that are close to my heart because they're about the profession of printer and also graphic designer. Also, they illustrate the new identity of the museum since its name changed in 2014. 3 years ago, the city of Lyon chose to place the Printing Museum in a group of 3 institutions called Museums of Stories and Societies in the plural. The name was chosen by all colleagues from the 3 museums and reflects the desire for the institution to evolve towards a social museum, more in line with current events than sometimes with technology, history, or items. The Printing Museum redesigned its collection between 2012 and 2014 to include more objects and works for the 20th century, and also to provide a global view of the history of prints, mainly in Europe. One of the last works of the tour is the one you can now see on the screen. It's called Peace, La Paix by Grapus, which dates from 1989. Having arrived myself in the museum in 2015, I found it interesting to start from one of the last images of the tour to begin to initiate new projects for the future and for the years to come. Grapus is a collective of French graphic designers bringing together 4 main members, and you can see in the picture, Alex Jordan, Gérard Paris-Clavel, Pierre Bernard, who died in 2015, and François Millet. Grapus was in activity between 1970 and 1990. Their position was to promote social, playful, joyful, political, and colorful design images. Their separation corresponds to the moment of their recognition by the Ministry of Culture in France and also from the museums. So each preferring to continue his journey alone thereafter. So it was first on an exhibition dedicated to the work of Grapus that I started working with the museum team. We have initiated an exhibition cycle on logos to embody the place taken by graphic design in our collections. The logo is an interesting entry point for young people, children, also students, who can enter the history of graphic design and signage through this door with a commercial appearance. We first started in 2017 by dealing with a bunch of museums' logos and communication before ending the cycle in 2019 with the logo of the Mediterranean Games. This is a very little known Olympic Games, but with a very refined communication by the Croatian designer Boris Ljubicic. You can see on the right of the slide. Between these two projects in 2018, we decided to carry out a project around a French charity and humanitarian association, which is called the Secours Populaire. Or in English, French Popular Rescue, which it's an association which fights daily against poverty and whose logo was designed by Grapus in 1981. It represents a hand with wings and the colors of the French flag above the three words Secours Populaire Français. This project allowed us to deal with both an important social issue, poverty, and to include all the communication of the association, from the postcard to the large posters displayed in the metro. We were lucky enough to access all the archives of the association, which has never stopped working with Grapus, in particular Pierre Bernard. We have chosen to exhibit these images very simply by relating them to portraits of members of the association and also to figures on current poverty in France. We had some pretty significant difficulties during the assembly of the exhibition, in particular with Grapus themselves, each graphic designer claiming the origin of the creation of the logo. So we have tried to present the visitors with various images and several visual of communication posters for the project in order to take into account certain discrepancies. So we played with the different shapes of the posters, the letters, the flyers, the books, objects to present. And it was particularly exciting for us to achieve it with the association, which it was the first visual retrospective after 40 years of existence. The project allowed us to welcome many socially vulnerable visitors, to bring in many groups and beneficiaries of the association. The city of Lyon was also very active in the project by allowing us to display the visuals of the exhibition over time and in all the districts of the city. Colleagues from other museums sometimes had difficulty understanding the positioning of the project. Why talk about poverty in the museum? Why is an exhibition for? Does the museum have a social vocation? What's the place of Grapus in design history? Those were stimulating questions, I think, and debates within and outside. And we have a lot of debates within and outside the museum team. So now, the second exhibition project first started in 2019, this time focusing more particularly on one of the founding members of Grapus, Gérard Paris-Clavel, trained at the Beaux-Arts of Warsaw in Poland. His vision of lettering, types, images, and also his appreciation of the profession of printer and graphic designer confirmed our choice. We knew that this project would not be easy, of course, because he has a huge personality and it's not very easy sometimes to talk to. But also because it calls a lot of questions and it calls into question a lot of things in our professional practices. Within his new collective, the association Ne Pas Plier, or Do Not Bend in English, which brings together town planners, sociologists, printers, artists, Gérard Paris-Clavel refuses to create exhibitions. We had a lot of exchange about this question. He does not want to use the word exhibition. So he speaks of a demonstration of images in a political sense, like a political demonstration of images. He also refuses to speak of a work of art, but only of an image. He does not date his work, because it's endlessly taken up, deepened by its passage between the streets, the studio, the workshop. So we do not have any dates, or it choose sometimes to simply add the mention since 1991, like the Plier here. Here you can see an image of the workshop of the association Do Not Bend, the Plier, to give you just an idea of the constant proliferation of their work. Gérard Paris-Clavel puts the city at the heart of his images. And in particular, the use of his drawings and letterings in social and political struggles. His posters are still present today in demonstration. Just now in 2021 or 2020, such as in the occupation of theaters in Paris in the context of COVID, and also a request for salary increases brought by nurses this year. The designer also often works directly on the buildings and walls of the places he invests. Here, for example, during a residency near Marseille, at the Belle de Mai Cultural Wasteland, he paints in white on a black background all the words of the vocabulary of performing arts that he gathered from the team he met locally. That's his way of working. First, a lot of meetings with the team in the cultural institution, then a lot of work on the words themselves and images. It takes almost a year, maybe sometimes two, to gather all those words. Gérard Paris-Clavel had his first major retrospective exhibition near Paris in 2017, whose title was Avec, the word with. This exhibition took place in Nogent-sur-Marne, in a 19th century bourgeois building. In reference to the arrival of many refugees in France and Europe, the designer notably set up several tents in the building and worked with the refugees to design his hanging images in the place. So you can see now the printing museum in Lyon. We have chosen to keep the title from the retrospective exhibition, so the word with, avec, because it's a real message of the collaboration that Gérard Paris-Clavel make when he works with a team. But we keep the idea of talking mainly about the profession, the craft, the job, le métier of the graphic designer and printer. But we knew that with this project, we were going to have to open the museum outwards and prepare something collective with the residents and also the neighbors of the institution. So we have launched several meetings last year with school groups, association, public workers, to build participatory actions. But the health context, the COVID context, greatly harmed the making of these parallel actions, and also postponed the exhibition, which was to open in October 2020, and now it will be held, I hope so, in October 2021. With this exhibition, the facade of the museum, the Renaissance building, will serve as an introduction to the exhibition. Gérard Paris-Clavel wishes to treat it almost like a printing block, a case d'imprimerie, where every piece of window could house a typeface. We will also use the bay windows of the shop. Here you can see on the left you have the shop of the museum, And on the right of the entry, you have the workshop, which is very active. And so we will use all the bay windows of the shop and the workshop to stick drawings and also signs chosen by the designer. Inside the museum, you first have a courtyard for the institution. Once in the courtyard, we will show the signalétique cosmique, which is called the cosmic signage. It's like a dozen-road sign transformed by the designer to put poetic mentions and also puns around the sun of the light. We will also present several high-res images, such as this exclamation mark with the mention, "What a joy, happiness." Everything is positive in the work of Gérard. It's also what drawn us to this exhibition, because it's political but in a positive way, and it's not nobody will be will find offense in his work. It's just a poetic and political way to share ideas with others. Maybe for him in a revolutionary manner, because he's playing with shapes a lot of times. So we will then integrate several images of Gérard in the root of the collections, to highlight the social struggles linked to the printing worlds and also the political advances obtained thanks to the strikes of the printers and also typographers in Lyon, but also in France and Europe. So now I invite you to quickly discover the spaces and sections of the exhibition to be held in the fall, as well as some images associated with them. It's not the final display for the exhibition, but it's close, I think, to what we want to show the visitors in October. First, the exhibition will be an opportunity to dive in the back office of Gérard Paris-Clavel in the workshop. Visitors will first be able to enter a kind of ephemeral workshop where images are created, circulated, tested, and reinvented. We will have a special focus on the elements of the Money World poster you can see, which illustrates child malnutrition in Africa, as well as on several posters produced on the artistic education of children at school. It's called The Moderns posters, la série Les Modernes. Then the visitors will discover the role played by the streets and the city in the inspiration of the graphic designer. Several positive images about the freedom of move, also women's rights, vulnerability, social struggles will form the heart of this colorful and also poetic panorama. Then will come the time of the living room and the library. The place of books and newspapers in the career of Gérard Paris-Clavel. He notably worked with Pierre Bourdieu, the French sociologist, on his book The Misery of the World, La misère du monde, edited at the Seuil editions in 1993. We will also have newspapers making by Gérard for the exhibition that we will update every month for the visitors with letterings from and typefaces from Gérard. He has created 4 typefaces, and he uses them every time in his work. The event will end with the kitchen, a place where parallel projects carried out with actors from the city of Lyon and school groups will be shown. I think it will also be a place that will host debates and the comings of academics, researchers, artists, and associations during the time of the exhibition. Gérard Paris-Clavel is used to organizing, he calls them ideas snacks, also just snacks, during the public events, with themes and meetings, joining together very diverse hosts. We will also use Lyon's public transport to display several images of the designer and spill the exhibition into the city. Here you can see some images that have been selected to be shown without further comments or information directly on the streets. That was a big issue with the city because Gérard Paris-Clavel didn't want to have any relation to the exhibition shown to the inhabitants of Lyon. So just the images. I hope it will be okay. I have the mayor is okay with it, but it's not common to use just the graphic design images with no mentions at all. You can see here a dream on the left, and my city is a world, which is very important for us. It represents a lot what we are doing in Lyon and in the museum. Here you can see some other images that we will show. A series of equality posters with reference to the French Revolution or to women's rights. And on the right, My Body, My Choice. The last images he made just a few weeks ago. And this image is now on the Théâtre de l'Odéon in Paris, and big on high-rise in high size also on one of the most known French theater in Paris. I think it's a great image. Gérard Paris-Clavel will also organize a cru. It's an urban hiking trail where people can discover some streets of Lyon, of the city, in connection with their visual history, and also or their part in the history of the printing profession in Lyon. Here you can see the first images proposed by Bureau 205, which are the graphic designers who work with the museum, with every exhibition. And that's how they want to present the upcoming exhibition, with two propositions, with pleasure and with strength. So Gérard Paris-Clavel was not very happy with the results, but I think it's a beginning of a good debate that we will have in a few months, because he does not want that any illustration for his exhibition. It's something that I like to hear and also to discuss, because I like the work of Bureau 205 also. I like the two expression of design, but we will see what will happen in the reality in the fall. We don't know yet if we will be able to keep those posters for the project, which is still a work in progress. So in any case, it's very pleasant for me to build with the museum team and the designers this exhibition today in the COVID context that we know and live. We are very separated from each other, and all that Gérard Paris-Clavel wants is to have a connection, to connect with images that can go from one shape to another, from one paper to another, from 1 year to another. So it's like everything is in movement, and I like this idea of a kind of liquid exhibition. This is a project also where the museum is really confronted with the inhabitants, the actors of the city. And this illustrates very strongly what we can expect from a museum at a time when images are imposed on us, when they should rather be invented or interpreted and reclaimed by each of us. You can have here the standing utopian, which is the main logo from the personality of Gérard Paris-Clavel. So I hope this exhibition will open in October. Maybe I can see some of you and discuss with Gérard or with me about this project. So I'm very happy to have presented you some of the main idea between our session or cycle of Grapus work. Maybe you have question for me, or maybe you want to discuss some points.
Well, Joseph, great talk about a great project, and I'm very pleased with your explanations. We have a rather strong connection with Ne Pas Plier, with Gérard Paris-Clavel. I may tell a short story afterwards, but first of all, I would like to give the opportunity to other people to ask a question or to give a comment. Is there anybody who would like to say something or ask something? Okay, so I would like to ask Joseph, do you think there are several other collections in France who know of Ne Pas Plier and Grapus and who would try to collect their work? Or is that a rather special thing you do?
Thank you, Stéphane. I know about one collection only, the French Library, the National French Library in Paris, which have a collection of posters. Grapus is a complicated group. So the death of Pierre Bernard engaged a process for the group to finally think about their archives. So it was a lot of debates and questions between the four members. So now it's more peaceful, I think. Even Gérard is doing a Grapus conference for the first time in the next month.
Oh yes,
because he wasn't very happy to talk about it.
No,
so there was always a conflict, and it was not easy. But the expression and the images are so strong, and we are so far from the 1968 context. So it's very easy for us just to discover and share the positive way of thinking images. I think so. Just the French Library, and now the museum, and Gérard will propose us. Grapus is a part of his Grapus archive for us as an acquisition.
And how did you actually get into contact with those guys? You may have explained, but I didn't get it. Could you say again? How did you get the contact?
The first contact was with Gérard. It was just a few months after my arriving in Lyon, because I like the idea of the way Alan Marshall put an end of the collection roots in the 19th century by Grapus, and so I like the idea to extend it for the future project. So I asked Gérard very kindly, and we had, I think, 20 talks in 2 or 3 years, many coffees, and I listened to him a lot. And I think we find a way to talk about the job, the métier of printers and graphic designers, and that's why you want to express it in the exhibition. But it takes him a lot of years to understand why the printing museum, why me, why now, and He doesn't like the retrospective.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks he's dead and.
No, I quite can understand what you say. So I tell my little story about it. I happened to meet Gérard Paris-Clavel in Warsaw years and years ago. That was when he had an exhibition with Plier in the Stedelijk Museum in the Netherlands. So this is just to explain that he's a real number one person in the international poster scenery. One has to say so. And you pointed out that Grapus really came out with most extraordinary graphics, and it was a shock to many people who were looking at the poster business, especially the political poster. And well, anyway, I got to meet him in Warsaw, and I was so impressed by his work. And I went to him and asked, could you imagine an exhibition in Frankfurt in our museum? And we were sitting in a hotel foyer, rather big lobby with 4 pillars in this room. And you must imagine it was before 1990. It was soldiers in the hall, soldiers outside, a very sort of tricky atmosphere. And he would say, no, I don't like this kind of exhibitions. I'll show you my kind of exhibition. And he unpacked his rucksack and got off a Scotch roller and went from one pillar to the next one and made a exhibition area, and then put on all his cards, all his political messages on this scotch round the whole lobby. It was an act of not 5 minutes. And he sat down and said, this is my exhibition. I've done it. And all the people in the hall were electrified completely, because these soldiers got very unhappy, and we were awaiting a big argument. And finally, it went out peaceful. The Scotch was printed with peace, 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 but it was a really delicate situation. And on from then, I'm really impressed by this person and his wonderful engagement he's bringing up in Paris. And so what I like about his attitude is that he is a graphic person. He could be a typographer. He could be a drawer. He could be a person to bring together people with a social and political interest. But he's more. You showed this wonderful signals he had with La Lune et Le Soleil. And so he's more than this practical person. He's really a poet with what he has on the graphic side. He knows how to transfer this practical everyday matters into a poem, into a lyrical sphere, and that's fantastic. And I think it goes very nicely together with what we had in our talks earlier. We had shown the Edition des Pales, when words get a piece of pictorial lyric, and we had Walter Raffaelli to show that the graphical work can be a sort of in-between sphere and message, the word quasi. And we have Gérard Paris-Clavel, who takes a sort of everyday product of his social work and knows how to put it into the sky and makes it a poem by itself. And this is a relationship I find extremely strong and I'm very jealous that you do this marvelous project with him. No, I congratulate that you do that, Joseph, and thanks very much for telling us about it. It's a great work, and you're doing, I think, a great job for it. And I can really imagine that it is quite something to do it together with Paris-Clavel, who is really much a person of himself. Yeah.
I would like to shortly interrupt because we have some interesting questions in the chat as well. Alan Marshall.
Sorry, I was so long.
No problem. It was interesting listening to you. Alan Marshall, for example, would like to know, I've always had the impression that printing museums and graphic design tend to inhabit two different worlds. Do you think that is now changing?
I don't have the choice. The name of the museum puts together printing and graphic communication. So, Alan, this is the great mixture for me. But I think what Grapus and Gérard Paris-Clavel express is that the printed matters, the printing matter is a way of sharing and a way of express the plural in the printing world. So it's the same thing because images are not illustration. The main struggle for Gérard is to struggle against communication and against illustration. He wants his work to be printed because it will be there in time for a lot of times, and also he will share with a lot of persons, like also printers, but also with shapes, colors, papers. The images are staying in time, and we share with everyone. So I think that also Gérard Paris-Clavel struggle with graphic design because he thinks it's sometimes just illustration. He doesn't like the idea of the solitary work of the graphic designers today that are very isolated with the creation with digital typefaces and sometimes work that isolate them from the printed world. So it's for him, he chose printing and he didn't want any graphic design. For him, it's not the solution. It's a facility solution and a commercial solution. So what I like in the Printing Museum in Lyon is that I don't have any choice. It's two of them together. And so I think it will work in this exhibition to share some ideas also.
Thank you very much. Then we have the question, for how long this exhibition will be open?
4 months, I hope, from October to February 2022. Just an idea of the next project, because it means a lot also to me. After Gérard Paris-Clavel, we will have the first major exhibition of the work of Susan Kerr, who works with Steve Jobs for making the Macintosh icons, and also Microsoft icons, and also Facebook and emojis. This is a very important work. There are no exhibition at the time. The MoMA in Los Angeles just made the acquisition from her drawings. I think it will be very interesting to also talk about it. This is digital, but this is icons. Suzanne Kerr is specialist of French caricaturists, so French drawers from the 19th century. So to have the relation between the 19th century and the digital icons is, I think, a good project to talk about. Maybe we will talk about next year.
And then we have one last question by Sarah Bankas. She would like to know, the aim of the exhibition is to create a connection with the inhabitants of the city. Does this way of imagining the exhibition change your way of thinking about mediation with the public? And is this a challenge for the museum as well?
Yes. Of course, it's a challenge. What I know, I have learned from it is that from every project from now on the beginning of an exhibition, I will have a class of students, of young students, a class of young professionals who works from the buildings or works for practical works. I will have an artist. I will have some neighbors from the museum, all put together at every starting exhibition project, so we can share ideas how to invest the streets, invest our institution in the time of the exhibition. So yes, now I'm working more with people, but I understand that it's not a facade. It can be a real dynamic for the team, for the city, and I think it's also great for museums to open up.
So thank you very much, Joseph Belletante, for this inspiring talk, also about graphic design and printing as action for participation. I guess this is indeed a challenge we all have to face.